kid. This is the way.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the next part of my stream, and that is my review for The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 7. Again, this is going to be a non-spoiler review for the most part, Chad, although there is something that is mentioned in the beginning of this episode, which I will get into details about, because it's relevant and important. Finally, we're getting to the important stuff in this show, Chad, because it's been too long. But for those who don't know, it's kind of the general premise of this episode, as Bo-Katan and the reunited Mandalorians attempt to reclaim their homeworld of Mandalore, Moff Gideon, who has returned, and the Imperial Shadow Council discuss their very nefarious plans and the inevitable return of a powerful Grand Admiral of the Empire. As I've done, so far for this season, Chad, like from my reviews, my first time I'm like truly reviewing like The Mandalorian, like episode per episode. We haven't really done the watch parties for it. I've been mostly disappointed by this season. I think it has a variety of issues. I do think it's I think it's definitely the weakest season so far of this series, and namely because I feel like it's unfocused. I feel like a lot of things they're focusing on are unnecessary, and certain things that they're doing are coming across very inauthentic to me. They're not natural. They feel very corporate. Listen, there have been some highlights for this series, no doubt about that, and I've mentioned those, particularly with Bo-Katan, played by Katie Sackhoff, who I really like Katie Sackhoff, Chad. I think she's a great actor. Loved her. I mean, ever since Battlestar Galactica. And Longmire. She has just a long career of playing great characters, really well-written characters. And here she's, for the most part, I feel like they're giving her a lot to do. And it's very much, she is very much the Mandalorian this season, but at the same time, the character of Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, he's become a supporting and even sometimes tertiary character in his own show. And Baby Yoda, Grogu, he continues since his return, really, in Book of Boba Fett, to serve no other purpose other than to sell toys, to sell merchandise. There's no point to him being here at all this season. He has not justified his presence once, other than being cute, eating things, or selling merchandise. And that holds true even this episode, and that's what's frustrating. Now, however, I do feel like this episode is a big improvement over most of this season so far. It focuses on the three things where I feel like when you have less than 10 episodes, when you're in the single digits, every episode you make, all right, should focus on the story, the characters, and the world building. Those are the three things. No filler, all right? You shouldn't have filler episodes if you only have 8 episodes of your series. That's ridiculous. And thankfully, this episode does this, where we have the Mandalorians, who you have all these disparate tribes finally coming together to reclaim the planet. You got Bo-Katan's people, you got the covert being controlled by the armor, and everyone else. They're coming together and they're finally going to reclaim the planet. Kind of weird though that the Mandalorian people are finally coming together, but there's only about 45 of them. I don't know that, not to be negative right off the bat, because I'm being positive so far, but it was just weird to me. Again, it kind of feels like the whole idea of all the Mandalorians are coming together and we are going to reclaim our homeworld. And it's about maybe 45 people. That's just kind of why? What, should it be hundreds, if not thousands of no, we're reuniting this. We're going to take back our planet. The idea of that story to me just feels very cinematic. It feels very big. And we got, I don't know, maybe 4 dozen people. Okay. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Now, to be very positive again, Bo-Katan Katie Sackhoff, she is the standout of this season, and particularly of this episode. She is the most proactive character. We see her really, truly pushed to be in that leadership position, confronted with her failures in a really cool way. With finding out that maybe not all the people on Mandalore are truly gone. Like, that to me was interesting. I thought she nailed every scene that she was in. She's been great, and that holds true throughout this entire episode, chat. There's no doubt about it. I have no complaints of Katie Sackhoff this season. My only complaints is they sometimes put her in situations where I feel like she is above this material. She shouldn't be chasing down rogue droids at the Lizzo planet, okay? Give me a break, all right? Here, I thought she was outstanding. She was great. Also, kind of the other story for this episode, chat, which I really like, other than the Mandalorians, the Imperial Shadow Council, which we now see the return of Giancarlo Esposito's Moff Gideon. It's right in the beginning of the episode. It's not really a spoiler. I really like how they established that. That was interesting because we have all these Imperial warlords, and they're all squabbling, for resources, and they all have their own nefarious plots and plans and things that they're arguing about that they want to focus on. That's all cool. And chat, again, it's right at the beginning. We're getting Captain Paleon, which you guys, hey, if you're fans of Heir of the Empire, you know exactly who Captain Paleon is. He's like, hey, guys, listen, I know we're all squabbling over all this stuff and all these different projects and, Moff Gideon, you have your plans, but Grand Admiral Thrawn's coming back. He's coming back. I'm like, I like that. I like that a lot. That was really cool. I was like, oh, this. And then, I love the infighting. This is what I'm talking about. Like, Star Wars, like, the way in which Star Wars has incorporated politics into a lot of its stories, it's floundered, especially when it comes to the movies. The prequels, obviously, a great example. They really messed that up. But in other ancillary materials, books, comics, hell, video games, how they've incorporated politics has always been interesting. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, I like the idea you have all these different Imperial warlords, admirals, generals. They all think the Empire should be doing different things. But then you have, like, this ominous presence that is Thrawn, who is just like, listen, it doesn't matter what we all want. This guy has his own plan. We should all follow him. I really like that shit. That's like the politics I want in Star Wars, okay? It's very Game of Thrones. It's very Star Trek-esque. Like Star Trek, how Star Trek has always handled politics in sci-fi infinitely better than Star Wars. Like, that's the way Star Wars should be handling politics. Because some of the political situations in Star Trek, some of the best episodes, chat, whether it be between the Romulans or the Klingons or any of the Federation, any of the races like that, they nailed that shit. They're always really good at that. And this it was very, very Star Trek-esque in the way in which they were talking and discussing everything. I thought that was really cool. And also this presence of Thrawn. And I love how, like, Giancarlo Esposito, Moff Gideon's like, where the hell's Thrawn? I don't know any Thrawn. Like, he is like, I don't give a shit about him. All right, this is my show. I'm just like, oh, you're talking a big game right now. I think it's gonna bite you in the ass, but I like that. That's what that makes it interesting. And that's the first thing you see in this episode. And Captain Paleon, he's 100%. I mean, he was in the books. He's Thrawn's hype man. That was cool. Now, the only thing I disliked about this is, sadly, they are using a lot of these shows to explain the bullshit that happened in the new sequels, especially the stuff with Palpatine. They're retconning things. So, like, that famous meme, chat, somehow Palpatine returned. They're addressing that here. I'm just like, oh, please don't. Oh, please don't. Because I'm just like, this is just weird. This just doesn't make any sense. They mentioned Project Necromancer and cloning. And it's like, all right, it has everything to do with Palpatine's return. Okay. Because they got to somehow explain all that bullshit that they set up in those movies, or in really that last movie. It's just like, ugh. I know they've done that some other things too. And I'm like, I liked all this stuff with the Shadow Council, loved the infighting, thought that was great, thought the actors were doing a really good job. The casting for Captain Paleon in particular was like, oh, this guy he is the character. I was like, wow, I don't know who this guy is. Nails it. But just from the books, just his whole personality, how he presents himself. But like that, I'm like, oh, get out of here. Don't mention that, please. But they're like, oh, we gotta somehow explain that bullshit. So I don't like that. But most of it, like 90% of it, I love. That last 10%, it's like fuck. Also, we get some terrific action scenes in here. Despite seemingly at sometimes being like very small scale, because there's only like a half dozen Mandalorians, trying to reclaim the planet. We do get some great sequences, some great blaster battles, all that. That was really cool. And they even avoided some things where I thought, oh, here, another monster of the week. They kind of get away from that, and I like that. And we get some drama. We get some serious drama where there's consequences to some of these big action scenes, and I liked how they handled all that. But again, and I hate going back to this, there's just some that, despite this story just be feeling so huge, it's like literally all the Mandalorian clans are coming together, but it's maybe about 45 people, and they're all here to reclaim the planet. I'm just like, I want more. I want more than that. There needs to be thousands of Mandalorians, okay? Give me at least 1K. At least 1K, and I'll feel a lot better about that. But it still's like, hey, we got about a half dozen people. All right. And then, we get to the more negative things. As I said before, Din, outside of, he gets some action scenes. He gets some action scenes, which they're very cool. And the people so really Pedro Pascal doesn't actually play the Mandalorian. So for those who don't know, majority of the time it is not Pedro Pascal who is wearing the helmet and the suit. That's not him. He provides, there are occasions when he's on set and when the helmet's off, then that's obviously him. But most of it, it's funny. I think it's like John Wayne's, is it his grandson? I forget if it's John Wayne's son or his grandson. And then they have another actor as well who play the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, when they have the helmet on. And then Pedro Pascal just does the voice lines, except when he occasionally has to take the helmet off. But for most of the time, I believe it's John Wayne's grandson, another actor. I forget his name off the top of my head, but all respect to them. He gets some cool action scenes, and he gets a good scene with Bo-Katan. But even that scene, which he basically is like, hey, I'm pledging my life to you, it just reaffirms the fact that this show is just not about him anymore. And it's like, at that point, it's just kind of, I was like, what's the point of this character? Why is he here still? And it's like, let's just move on from him, or just write him out, send him, he's going out into the sunset with Baby Yoda, and they live the rest of their life in peace. It's just like, I just don't see the purpose of this character anymore. And even though he has some good action scenes, and they're fun, pew, 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 all that good stuff, and he gets one good moment, I think, with Bo-Katan this episode, I just don't see what purpose is. Like, his storyline got wrapped up in the first 2 episodes of this season. It's like, why are you here? Other than you're just kind of you're that connection point. So Bo-Katan can meet all these other people through him. That's really the only purpose. Brendan Wayne, is that the guy who plays Din? Thank you, Deadpool. But I'm just like, I don't understand this character. Also, again, Baby Yoda serves no purpose. They do something new with Baby Yoda here, and to me, it's like, that's a toy. What you just did is a toy. And I'm like, I don't need this. And it sets up a recurring joke, a gag, and I really disliked it. I'm like, I'm not digging this. I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but it's just, and you already seen the toy, of course. The toy's already out there. But yeah, I'm like, no. Again, it's just there for a gag. It's there to be cute. I assume it'll set up maybe a badass moment you don't see in this episode. But again, even then, this character serves no purpose. He's there to be cute, as I already said, to eat things, which he does all those in this episode, Chad. He's doing all 3. He's there to be cute. What he's doing is very cute and set up gags. He eats things again. Literally does that, and then he's merchandise, and he's a toy now. That's going to be a toy. That's all. I hate this character. I've gotten to that point. I'm like, why are you here? And it's only for those 3 things. I'm just like, get out of here. Also, this episode, even though this is like the penultimate episode, this could have been episode 4 in the series. Like, there is so much unnecessary filler this season that we could have just stripped out completely. Just like, get rid of all this. Like, that Lizzo episode has nothing to do with what happens next. It literally, the beginning of that episode, maybe the end of that episode, relevant. That's like maybe 8 minutes. 8 minutes you can take from that last Lizzo episode and be like, okay, cool. You could have added it on to this one. Like, literally. This could have been like, episode 4 or 5. And we still have 3 more episodes to go, honestly. And it'd be so much more better pace. Like, you could have done the first 2 episodes. Actually, you could have combined the first 2 episodes, honestly, to one. That could have been like maybe like an hour and 10 minutes. like those first two, right? And then episode 3, where Bo-Katan goes the Mandalorians and stuff. You could have had all that where she proves herself, where she saves the kid. That could have been like episode 3. And then this episode could have been like episode 4. Or maybe they deal with the pirates. Like episode 3 and the pirate episode could have been combined. And so this would have been like episode 5. It's like, it would have been much better pace. You could cut out all that unnecessary bullshit filler that we just don't need. It would have been so much better. And my last concern is, listen, this is, again, I think this is probably the strongest episode this season. There's no doubt about that. I have some criticisms. I feel like some characters are just there for branding purposes, for merchandise. Baby Yoda, and they don't know what to do with Din anymore. It's just like his story is done by season 2. And they're also apologizing for things they set up in the sequel trilogy because they didn't know what they were doing. But I have one worry right now, and that is Grand Admiral Thrawn. You guys know I love that character from the books. I like how he was using Rebels. My fear is that they're going to waste him, because I don't feel like Grand Admiral Thrawn is like a one-movie villain. Because listen, all these shows they're doing right now, which still I feel like this is a big risk. They're the Ahsoka show, the Mandalorian show, the Book of Boba Fett, and I guess this upcoming Skeleton Crew. They're all eventually going to culminate in one movie, which I'm just like, I don't know about that. But it's all going to culminate in one movie where Thrawn is most likely going to be the main villain. And I'm like, is that just going to be a one and done? And like, is that the end of Thrawn? Because Thrawn, to me, like, the books, the Thrawn trilogy, that is the true sequel trilogy in my mind. It's infinitely better than what we got. Like Heir of the Empire, Dark Rising, and The Last Command. And it's like, if you're just going to build, are you just kind of do like a loose adaptation of those books and it's going to be a one-off and you're just going to kill them? Like, that's my real fear. Because just based on like the track record of like them bringing in characters, like for example, Cad Bane, who's one of the best things, like one of the best new characters introduced in the Clone Wars, and he's showed up in Bad Batch. He's a wonderful character, inspired by Lee Van Cleef, the late great Lee Van Cleef. You see him in numerous movies, but probably best known for a variety of westerns he appeared in, the Dollars trilogy. My fear is it's like they'll do away with Thrawn like they did away with Cad Bane. Like, hey, here is live action. He's dead, and I'm just like, why? He just came to live action. I don't know. I'm really concerned. So I hope they don't waste him, but I don't have a lot of confidence. But overall, this episode in itself, I thought it was definitely the best one. It still has some issues, and it's apologizing for things in the sequel trilogy and still relegating its main characters to be secondary or even tertiary characters. That's frustrating, but it is better. It is better than what we've gotten so far. But again, it shouldn't have taken this long. You had all that unnecessary filler, and we're at the plot. It's like, thank you. Now I kind of know what this season's about, and it shouldn't be that way. Again, you are limited to 8 episodes. You should not have filler. Concentrate on story, characters, world building. Go. But that's not what they're doing. So we'll see. We'll see, chap. But it's the best episode so far this season. What about you guys? What did you think of Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 7? Did you really enjoy it? Did you like it? Did you still have some issues with it? I hope everyone enjoyed the film review, and I want to take the time to tell you about the movie of the week, a film that I really enjoy and one that I think you will too. This week's movie is Scream, just in time for the release of Scream 6. Scream is directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. A year after the murder of her mother, a teenage girl is terrorized by a killer who targets the girl and her friends by using horror films as part of a deadly game. If anyone is interested in purchasing this fantastic film, please make use of the Amazon affiliate link below in the video description. Your subsequent purchase of the film not only earns me a helpful commission, but any purchase you may make after clicking on the link itself for 24 hours would help earn me additional commissions as well. Doesn't matter if it's a Blu-ray, a video game, a pair of socks, or a washing machine, everything within 24 hours of that click can really help the channel. So go ahead and check out the film, enjoy browsing and shopping.